Good morning. It's great to be back at this panel. I think I've done it every year since the convention started. The Amsterdam News is now 101 years old. And we were founded on the same principles as almost every black newspaper, which is that we choose to plead our own cause, for too long have others spoken for us. And up here on this panel, there are a few of us. Alfred Liggins, Danny Bakewell, and David now, who are telling the stories of our community from our community perspective. The Amsterdam News, the Sentinel, News One, we are all black owned. We decide what goes on the front pages. We decide what is the lead story. And we decide what our community needs to know. And our community talks to us as well. You are our community. Whether it's Harlem or South Central, Bed-Stuy or Cleveland. The black press is something that's been around to be the voice for black America. And without the black press, we would have never had a David Wilson. We would have never had an Al Sharpton, because we were telling those stories before the Daily News was looking at who Al Sharpton was. We had pictures of Al Sharpton as a boy preacher. We told the stories of every single black actor from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, when no one else had ever heard their names or heard their voices. We are the history of our community, and we make that history and we record that history every single week within the pages of black newspapers across this country. And that's the difference. We are telling our own stories, and we are creating the journalists that, they start with us, but then they go off to other newspapers and magazines and television stations across the country, but they have something that a lot of other journalists don't have. They know how to cover their community. They know what's important to the community. But that's still not enough, because once they get there, they're not necessarily allowed to tell those stories that are important to our community. So people say, why is the black press important? And the black press is important is because the black press is its own filter. There is no other filter of someone else's viewpoint on what we put out there for our communities. We are telling our own stories. And until there are people of color that can dictate what is on the front pages or on the top of the news of every television station, radio station, and newspaper across this country, we will need a black press.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Boyce Watkins. I am originally a finance professor at Syracuse University. That's my day job. And media sort of became a secondary thing that I did as part of my career, because in academia we kind of have this interesting habit where they give us all this training and we're supposed to go in our office and write a bunch of research papers that nobody's ever going to read. And that didn't make any sense to me, because I kind of always felt that if you got all this education, you're supposed to use that to strengthen and empower your community. And in the black community, I never believed that we needed more PhDs. We actually need, in my opinion, more PhDs. And so effectively, my plan in terms of expanding the size of my classroom is, in case you don't know, Syracuse University doesn't have a lot of people who look like us. I wanted to reach those little black boys who were like me, who were told that they couldn't go to college, weren't smart enough, placed in special ed. All that stuff happened to me. They told my mama I need to be on Ritalin and all this other stuff they tell pretty much every black boy in America, if you know anything about our school system. And I felt the need to save those kids, because you know, while I felt that my story to some extent was a success story, there was nothing to celebrate, because I said, for every person like me, there's literally 40 or 50 replicas like me sitting down in the state penitentiary in upstate New York. So, long story short, I started working with AOL Black Voices and in some other media outlets, and also created YourBlackWorld.com. And we now have about 55,000 followers across the country who really believe in what we're doing. And because, the thing was that the power of media is something that's easy to perceive, and it cannot be denied. Whether you're talking about Lil Wayne or Barack Obama, we know that the images that our kids see on television, radio, and print affect who they believe that they are. And so the ownership of black media is obviously incredibly important. And one of the things that I said to my brother, who kind of became sort of a partner in crime with me on this public scholarship adventure that nobody really understood, was I said, well, whenever a black man really speaks with an empowered voice, the first thing that sort of happens is they take away his platform. So I said, the main thing that we have to do, and this was the finance professor in me coming out, is I said, we have to own the land on which we stand. Because